Welcome to Rates and Barrels. It is Thursday, October 16th. Derek Van Riper, Enos Saris, Trevor May. On this episode, we dig into the Blue Jays Game 3 win over the Mariners. Those Toronto Bats came to life. That series looks a lot more interesting today than it did just 24 hours ago. We'll take a quick look at the upcoming Game 3 of the NLCS between the Brewers and Dodgers. Try to figure out what the Brewers might do against Tyler Glasnow. I worked on it for a bit before the show and just threw the shrug emoji out there, so we'll see if Trevor and Eno have some better ideas than that. We've got some non-playoff news to get to a little bit later on in the show as well. But gentlemen, we saw those Blue Jays bats do really well against George Kirby. Big third inning in particular, 5 runs there. They continued to pile on after that. It flipped this game on its head because the bottom of the first, Trevor, you've been around the ballpark in Seattle a bit more these last couple of years. This is an organization you're familiar with. Julio made it as loud in that ballpark with a 2-run homer in the bottom of the first as maybe it's been in 20 plus years.
It was very, very loud. I was in the stadium last night for that. It definitely felt like they grabbed the momentum right out of the gate, and they could have just ran with it. But what has happened in these first, I feel, at least game 1 and then game 3 was the pressure was put on by the home team both times, and then they just they flipped it back real quick, and like we saw Springer hit the solo shot first pitch of the game in the series, and then Lucas 12 pitch at bat, and I'm like, oh no, for like a team that has a guy throwing on 3 days rest and the whole bullpen has to pitch and has to probably pitch if he doesn't go deep. So I was like, they stepped on the neck right away. Like this could be bad, and they just didn't take advantage. The exact same thing happened to the Mariners in the second game. So it's interesting that this is happening, honestly, because I feel like it's happened a few times. I mean, it happened to the Brewers the other day too, where Julio led off with the homer and then nothing happened.
Nothing happened after that. The Brewers-Cubs series before that was similar to what you were describing too, where Cubs scored in the first inning of 4 of those games. The Brewers scored on the road at Wrigley in game 3. Like, there's weird starts for sure. And in this series so far, I mean, the road teams won each of the first 3 games. But I thought what was really interesting was that Shane Bieber's command wasn't there in the first, but it locked in immediately after that. After giving up that homer, he was locating everything where he wanted. After the Jays had that big 5-run third inning, you could tell Bieber was working even further off the edges of the strike zone. He had more margin for error, and that made a very big difference, I think, with his ability to get really deep into this game and, importantly, protect some of that bullpen ahead of back-to-back days for Game 4 and Game 5, given how heavily that group had been used, not only in the last series, but even in the first 2 games of this one. Like that, I think that's going to go a long way towards giving John Schneider plenty of options in these next couple games.
Yeah, I think it allowed him, with the fact that his team was being competitive at the plate, and he wasn't going to have to pitch so finely the rest of the way. I think it allowed him to expand his zone. If you look at the finishing pitches for, that ended plate appearances, 7 of his strikeouts came on pitches outside the zone, and 6 of them came on pitches that were 3 or 4 inches past the strike zone. So he was able to, not have to throw the slider and the fastball in the zone as much. He was able to, kind of dance the line on the outside. And I think probably on the other side with Seattle, a little bit of nervousness means, hey, we need to get back in this, and, that turns into aggressiveness, and that feeds right into what Shane Bieber was doing with the breaking balls and the kick changes that were further from the heart of the plate.
Yeah, and I think from the perspective of the Jays lineup, we thought George Kirby's ability to command the 4-seamer at the top of the zone might be the make or break aspect of this matchup. And if you look at, on the balls that either finished plate appearances or were put in play by some means, you see this really bizarre thing from George Kirby where it's almost like he was trying to be too fine in a situation where airing with bigger misses up above the zone might have been better given what we know about the Jays hitters, their ability to handle high fastballs, and their overall aggression, right? Like, even if you don't get whiffs up there, you might get pop-ups up there. And instead, I think Kirby's misses were like one ball in down in the zone or one ball in off the outside part of the plate, and the Jays hitters were just all over it.
He just throws a lot of strikes. This has been his thing his whole career. He doesn't like to walk people. He doesn't, though his walks have gone up a little bit this year. So is a swing and miss, though. I think this might be a conscious effort to throw or take more chances for Chase to improve. And this looked like last year Kirby a little bit more, which I mean was a better year statistics wise. But when you catch so much of the plate all the time, and guys are super comfortable, especially when they are as good at juicing the ball as this team is, and doesn't strike out. They take advantage of the balls thrown in the box and misses. So it was just that is one thing when George Kirby faces a team like this is that is hyper aggressive. Sometimes you think that you might as well stay in the zone and not take chances on the edges or be okay with getting swings out of the zone or that you can get them because the team doesn't swing and miss very much. You think Chase is swing and miss when it isn't. Like I fall in that. I used to fall in that trap all the time too. Like I would think if I can't get a swing and miss, there's no reason to throw it, get him to chase it. Right. So
chases where bad contact is too. So
exactly. Like if they don't swing and miss, but they chase a lot, they probably just get out still. Like that could get you out of situations as well. And I think he up to this point in the playoffs has gotten his strikeouts, but he hasn't been hunting them the whole time. And maybe that dominance, sometimes you get a little bit hunting the dominance a little bit more, especially in a game you want to make a 3-0. Like that's just that it makes sense that happens, and the Blue Jays responded and they put the foot on the gas and they don't take it off. That's the problem with their offenses. They get going. It's hard to get them to stop going in that game.
The other thing that's interesting to me is Kirby after the game said, I got too cute. And I believe he was talking about one of the high fastballs he was throwing. I think it was let's see here. Was it the sinker to Springer? Anyways, he was talking about, having some success on one pitch and then going back to it and then missing his spot a little bit. And then it was Dinger City. And, another one that gets referenced is he throws a slider to Vlad Guerrero Jr. that works. And then he throws it again and it's a slightly worse location. And Vlad's sort of primed for it. He just saw it and he goes for it. This reminds me of the Kerry Carpenter situation. He throws a front door high two-seamer to Kerry Carpenter. It works. He goes back to it. The location's not quite as good. Kerry Carpenter's more ready for it, and Kerry Carpenter hits a homer. And there's something there about being too cute where it's like, I wish for George Kirby that sometimes he would do something that worked and then try for something else that can work and not go back to that well.
But the Kirby Vlad sequence, it was exactly what Trevor described last week, where it's, he got a take on the first one, and it was just, it was early in the count. He was down, I think it was 1-0 count because he missed with the sinker outside. Throws a slider, gets the called strike, tries to throw it near the same spot. It was lower than the one before it, but Vlad missed a homer by a couple of feet. He had a rope off the wall. I have no idea. Like, there are some guys in a lineup that are just obvious. Do not throw this guy the same pitch twice. Vlad is that guy for the Jays, right? Like, why would you ever throw the same pitch in the same location to Vlad Jr. of all hitters?
Unless it's a hole, like if you throw down and away and dot a slider to like Aaron Judge, throw it there again because he simply cannot. It's just the hole. There's a hole. He's just not going to hit it. Vlad makes the adjustment.
I have a little bit of caveat for what you say right here. Hold on.
Okay.
Show the Dalton Varsho. Show the Dalton Varsho. Here are Dalton Varshow's extra base hits for all of the last 2 years.
I literally said this to Duquette before. I'm like, Varsho cannot hit up at all. Like, at all.
And then
like, there's
Varsho
nothing.
takes
And then
the weirdest swing you've ever seen him take. This tomahawk, like, that was not Dalton Varsho's swing.
Out.
He's sold out for that one thing. So, I mean, I think that's where I was kind of going when I lost my train of thought, was just that you have this thing where, like, do you show them something that's not your strength that they wouldn't expect at all, right? Or do you say they have a hole there and I'm going to pick at it? Because if you keep picking at Dalton Varshaw's hole, at some point he's going to say, man, he's going to throw me a high fastball. And it's going to be right now. And I've been doing this in the cage all week. I'm going to tomahawk this thing. And it was a double. I don't know. So that's what the tension is, what we're talking about, is like, oh, did that thing that worked? Should you do that? The thing that's worked in the past? Or should you do something completely different that he didn't expect? And you kind of need to do both, right? You need to be like, oh, that I got a strike from Vladdy on a slider in the perfect place. I got to do something super weird. How about a kick change high in the zone? Just like something totally different.
I mean, well, Vladdy, though, is there, like, there's a difference between Vladimir Guerrero and Dalton Varsho. And also, I want to say, if that's the top rail, if that ball splits the thing, splits the top,
if he has it a little, like 2 inches taller, then
still can't hit it, even if he's sold. Yeah. He sold out and got a ball because Kirby doesn't have like a super high ride fastball either. He throws hard, but it's not super high ride, and he's got a high release point. So it's like, it's not, he doesn't have that like deception on. He can't just pump four seams. Guys, I can't. He
likes his four seam too much. I think just generally he likes his four seam too much.
Maybe, man, I think he mixes them together pretty well too. Usually, like uses both, but like he just didn't get it high enough, anyways. And Varsho hit a pitch that's still in the zone. He doesn't hit, and I would say if you have command at the top of the zone, Varsho's going to go up there and just keep trying, and he's probably going to foul it back and just get like, he's like, oh, I can't flatten he's not Kirk. He can't flatten his bat out enough. But he's the one guy in that lineup that like has this, like, it's just blue. Like there's one dot up there, which is funny. It's right now. I think he got a hit up at the top, close to the top one other time this year. And it's closer to him. And so there is one, and like the guy, sometimes guys have one spot, like they'll get it two or three times, they'll get it. But he is not. But he hit a homer off his ankles in the first series. It's because he's so good at low ball. He's a classic low ball hitter, and he just sold out and got one. But like for Kirby, you can't look at that and be like, oh, he's fixed. No, you still have it.
Still got to go back there.
But with Vlad, if you know that breaking balls are something that he can handle well, and then you get the strike.
Then you have to be like, I snuck cheese past the rat. I gotta.
You have to sneak cheese past the rat sometimes so that you can get back to the thing. So the guy still thinks if Vladimir grows up there, he's like, he's not gonna throw me a breaking ball because he's afraid of throwing me a breaking ball. You just eliminated it for him. But if you could throw one and grab a strike, that Max Scherzer was big on this, like the old get me over curveball. He loved it. And 23 and 22 is like, he's like, I love the big slow one at the beginning because guys are like, dang it. Like, and he just loves stealing that. So they like, oh, he throws the curveball and he just never throw it again. Yeah. Like, but that, what it did was this free strike. And now it's in your head. And it's not even part of the plan, but you think it might be, and you have to account for that. It's like, you have to do that against this team. And I feel like the first two games, they did that well to where he was like breaking ball. And then he threw it off the plate and maybe got like I want to get that. I really want you to make a mistake with that breaking ball. And then they beat him with a sinker up and in that he grounded out on. And you're like, that's what he needed to do. And by the way, it was a slider. And then I think he threw a knuckle curve, which to be honest, they're very similar. The problem is though, his curve doesn't go horizontal as much as his slider either. So like it stayed more it has more depth, but it stayed more in the middle of the plate too. So also he threw the pitch that was going to move back towards the middle as well. So that is being too cute. If you went curveball and then slider, you want it to move away from the middle, not towards the middle.
Right. Yeah.
I think he does that a little. Like sometimes he throws a lot of pitches that are moving towards the plate, which is risky, but he has the command to do it. He can do it better than I could. But like, it's the playoffs. The 2-run homer could kill you, and it's kind of killing him a lot.
Yeah. I want to say, like, I just wish that Kirby had done something super strange. Like Bryce Miller did something super strange in his first start, And, I actually thought that Logan Gilbert did something super strange was that he kept throwing that slider even though it sucked.
Yeah.
I think that everyone sort of expected him to stop throwing that slider, and he's just like, nope, I'm going to keep throwing this thing even though it's not my good slider. But what we've seen from other pitchers is, like Blake Snell throwing more changeups than he ever thrown in a start before. We've seen other pitchers throw things on their head more, and that's what I wanted from Kirby. Was like a game plan from outer space. And this is something I've said before. If I had an R&D department, I have I always want one person in my R&D department that just is in outer space. It's just like, what if we did this? And everyone's like, what? What if Kirby just threw 80% splitters today?
He also is like, maybe of everyone in the rotation, he has the best potential to be able to do the most pitches and the best command. Like, he could just be a different pitcher day to day. But I also think that comes with experience. He's 27. I would expect him to start doing that by now. But like, it wouldn't surprise me in the next year or two that he just buys in the way that Snell bought into throwing into the box more. Like, that could be the next evolution. Not getting cute and just being like, these two pitches are dominating this team today. That's what I throw. I'm a reliever that throws a slider and a four-seam fastball. And the next day, like, these guys can't hit split or sinker. I'm going to throw these two. And then he throws that day. And then guys are like, we can't even get ready. Now we have to know ourselves so well to know how he's going to be. Like, that's where you get Cy Young guys.
A follow-up question for you, Trevor. We saw Blake Snell working with the PitchCom, calling his own games in game one of the NLCS. Kirby seems, by all accounts, like the kind of guy that could call his own game. He doesn't so far. Would you have him do that as a way to keep him thinking about the problem a little bit differently, as opposed to basically going with the game plan that front office or Cal Raleigh or however the chain of command works currently in Seattle? Like, would that be better for Kirby, given his strengths and given some of the issues we see with him when it's not going as well as it should?
I mean, for one, it can't hurt to have the thing on you, right? You don't have to call every pitch. Even having it as an option, being like, do I want to change? Do I have a specific thing I want to do here, and go following along that thread can be really valuable. And also, this is like how he seems like a guy that is going to want to do that and play the game that way. I actually don't know for sure if that is actually how I just get that through hearing interviews, but I haven't spoken to him directly about it. And also, there is a huge trust in Cal. Like, and I get that too. Like, it's worked really well. And he remembers I guess he remembers everything. Like he recalls things they went over in the plan, like, better than the pitchers are able to do sometimes. And so they lean on him really heavily. But there comes a time where being on the same page at the beginning, like, just even knowing that there's that flexibility that we can be on the same page the whole time and have the conversations back and forth and change in the third inning. Maybe that's just the next evolution, and George Kirby probably of everybody, and maybe Wu. It seems like Wu's pretty in this realm as well. Actually, they all kind of look like they could be that guy, and I think that
it's a cerebral group. They all
it's a cerebral group, and they all bounce things off each other and stuff too. So I think taking control of your own game and this experience might actually get them to the point where they're like, okay, there's a very specific thing where I want to be funky, or I'm feeling something weird here and I want to be able to do it. Encouraging that would be, I think that's really interesting. I think we were talking to Gosman on outside of the dugout yesterday after BP, and he alluded to like that being kind of, because he throws 3 pitches, right? And he's like, using his changeup splitter weirdly is kind of that's what weird is to him, because he's like, so he's like, you got to do things in the playoffs you don't usually do. And that, for me, that's throwing sliders. I lose sleep about it sometimes because of my past and how bad it is. Like, he just basically said that. He's like, but like, sometimes they're like, he's not going to throw a slider. It's bad. And then you can get away with it for 3 or 4 innings. And he's like, but like, you have to make that decision. Like, no one's going to make that decision for you. That was veteran Gosman. And also he also said, I also have Bassett and Scherzer around, who are just constantly like, can I make stuff up as we go? Like, especially Bassett. Yeah. That's like, can I make up a pitch today? Like, like, you learn a lot from them, even though they're different pitchers than you, because sometimes that's part of when you get that confidence where you're like, splitter to a righty 0-2 here that I've never done. I want to do it, and being able to tell them. So I'd say, put that thing on your belt.
Yeah.
See if you ever use it.
I really like the idea of the second time through the order changing up who's calling the pitches. Maybe it's sort of scripted the first time through. Catcher's got the game plan locked in. You feel really good about that. It's almost like how in the NFL, the first series of plays is scripted. They know what they want to call. It's all kind of performed in the walkthrough, and they're just like ready to go. Maybe toggling it then also gives you that extra wrinkle, because then at that point, you faced each hitter, you know how you feel that day, and you can start to problem solve it based on some things that are unique to that particular day that you just didn't know going into it the first time through the lineup, or you had some clues based on how you felt warming up, but after facing each hitter once, it feels a bit different. We got game 4 on tap tonight. Scherzer versus Luis Castillo. Am I wrong for assuming that Max Scherzer is going to be quickly removed from this game, even if he's effective, to the point of it's like maybe one time through the order and out for Max, and then they're going to bullpen it from there, especially since they were able to rest so many of their key relievers on Wednesday night,
I mean, his last 5 starts, one of them was a blow up that he got taken out of really early, but even the other 4 innings, 4 1/3, 5 and 5. So I doubt, I think the cap here is 5. And you're just also talking about a pitcher in general that, had health issues, has a finger issue that has been bothering him, various other ailments. And, I think the way that they got him to a slightly higher velo this year than last year was by, saying, hey, you're not going to be in there that long. So throw 93 and change, for 4 or 5 innings. And that's what we want from you. But, the other part of this is, I think there's like kind of an on-off switch. It's like, does he have his breaking ball command? And that was the one thing that the finger has really hurt for him, I think, and the back. The two things that you saw at least last year in Texas were like some of the worst location plus numbers on his breaking balls. So if he comes into this game and just has great command of his breaking balls, maybe he surprises us and goes a little bit deeper. But I think that the plan is just to get 3 or 4 innings and be happy with it.
I agree. Just he's going to be short leash. That's they can't. They still 2-1. You
really don't want to go down 3-1.
Yeah, you really don't want to go to. If you can, you got to even this thing up. So early bullpen is likely.
Yeah, throw everything out there and just try to level it up tonight. On the other side of this, with Luis Castillo, you were pointing out the way he uses sinkers and 4-seamers, different parts of the zone, thinking about the Jays and the lineup diversity they have. They got some good high ball hitters. They got some good low ball hitters. It does seem like this could be a good matchup for Castillo. And I think the question I have about him is he going to kind of give in and try to get strikes in the zone, or is he going to try and push a little harder on chase and be willing to give up some free passes the way we saw in his start against the Tigers in the ALDS?
Yeah, I mean, that start against the Tigers was bad by K-BB. It's not one that you would like to see in the regular season if you're projecting the rest of his season. But it did speak to me of this quality that he's willing to live outside the zone if the other team is going to be super aggressive inside the zone. And when I see this heat map here between his 4-seam and 2-seam, yes, I think you could get into trouble if everything low is a 2-seam and everything high is a 4-seam. I could see that, helping the hitters keyhole you. But if you look closely in these heat maps, there is overlap. He does throw high sinkers and he does throw some low 4-seamers. But generally, what I get from this is that he has the ability to live high and low in the zone with 2 fastballs. And I think that is something that, Kirby is more comfortable with his fastballs high in the zone. And I know that Varsho's a low ball hitter. So, against him, I expect to see slightly more high pitches from Luis Castillo. But, there are a bunch of high ball hitters on this team too. And generally, they're more of a high ball hitting team. So I could see Luis Castillo living below the zone with the sinker and the change. And the nice thing too about him is we've been talking about like pitcher identity and stuff. Luis Castillo, when he was with the Reds, had one identity. He was a sinker changeup guy that, wanted to reduce homers, didn't have the greatest strikeout rates, and Then he comes and he's developing a slider, and the slider comes in and out the first couple of years of his career. He goes to Seattle. He really settles on a slider. It's a good slider. The four seam improves. He starts pushing the four seam and slider usage way more and above the sinker and change, to the point where at sometimes he even says in interviews he's lost the changeup, you know? But I'd say he's never truly lost what he was once before. And so inside Luis Castillo, there are two Luis Castillos, and I think that's to his benefit. There's two different guys he can be to anybody at one time. And and to speak to the idea that we were talking about being really strange, what if he is the sinker changeup guy to Varsho? You know what I mean? Like, he can, if that might be to his benefit, just be strange. And I think he's got the veteran quality of just having seen these guys, having seen different approaches against himself, having been two different pitchers himself. I think there's a way he can dance with the raindrops, basically.
Yeah,
I'm worried about the lefties for Castillo. Pretty strong splits. Like, righties this year, 212, 244, 342. Lefties, 278, 348, 466.
Like, I want him to have his good changeup, and his changeup hasn't been as good the last couple of years. But if he has his good changeup, then that those splits could be, just what happened in the regular season.
Yeah, it's possible. Let's flip the script. Let's take a look over at the NLCS. I thought the off day would be good for me as a fan of the Brewers. It just made me feel worse.
You just stewed in it.
I sat there just feeling awful. What are we going to do? How are we going to hit Glasnow? And then if we do hit Glasnow, how are we going to hit Ohtani in game 4? And I spiraled. And you would think that what the Jays did going on the road against Kirby would have been a source of inspiration for me as a Brewers fan. I would have said, okay, look, hey, similarly built team. They went out, they hit the ace on the road. It can be done. It can happen. Good things can happen. No, I was just wallowing in the 2-0 deficit, and all of my fears about this Dodgers team just swirled around me for an entire bonus day. So that was just great. So I'm happy it's the early game, I guess, as happy as I can be, because at least I don't have to wait until 8 o'clock for first pitch tonight. But how do you hit Tyler Glasnow exactly? Like, I couldn't come up with anything that made sense for a game plan that could be executed, which is why I'm sitting here and not working on a game plan to hit Tyler Glasnow.
I think, if you're a lefty, there is a bit of a game plan because Glasnow likes to throw his curve a little bit more arm side. He's not the type of guy who wants to back foot his curveball. It's a vertical curveball, and he doesn't want it to end up low and inside the zone to lefties. So if you're lefties, I think there's a game plan which is hard in. You just want to see it hard in and take a rip off that four seam, which I guess is something I would rather do than swing over the top of his curveball. And so if you can see the ball in, that'd be my approach as a lefty. Because it's probably less likely to be a breaking ball. He doesn't throw the slider that much to lefties. And the curveball is away or down. So hard in. That's all I got. Lefties hard in.
So you think, Yelich, Frelick, Bowers, that's a game plan for them. But the righties? What are the righties doing out there tonight?
Yeah, the problem is against righties, he's a 4-pitch mix guy with excellent stuff. And even the lefties being like, oh yeah, you want me to target that fastball, which is a really good fastball, right? But against righties, he's got the slider, he's got the sinker, he's got the four seam. They're all over the plate. It's really hard to identify, a game plan. I wouldn't know exactly what to do. I guess it's a little bit more hard up. I hope you're a high ball hitter and look for the four seam up.
I bring him in the zone. That's one thing, because he has been known to. He's a guy who will just go crazy high pitch count quickly, and the best way to beat Tyler Glasnow is to pitch against his bullpen or hit against his bullpen. They've thrown one inning in this series, and it was almost a disaster. It was the only inning where anything felt remotely in the Brewers' favor, and that was against the guys they want closing the game. So, get someone else on the mound, and Glasnow will Like, you guys don't strike out. You put the ball in play. You foul. Spoil pitches. Don't go up with the expectation that you're going to go just light him up unless he's just right down the middle, which happens from time to time. But even then, I can't remember a time where like Glasnow went out and threw like 3 innings and gave up, it's 8 hits or something like that. I don't think he might have never done that. So it's not something you can count on, but you are a good bat to ball team. Like, you pop him, he'll give up homers. You need a pop somewhere, but like
Fouls
the best thing is get him up in the 90. Don't let him go don't let him throw 8 innings like the first 2 guys did. You're losing. That's what's happening. And he's a guy who you can get to. And honestly, game 4, Shohei's another guy you can do that to. So like, that is how they're going to get back into this. And they just so happen to have a lineup that has done a good job of that this year. So like, do the thing you do. Stay like pigeonhole the pitches that you want to drive, get those opportunities when you can, but don't expect them to present themselves. Your number one plan should be, how many pitches can we get this guy to throw, even if we get out at the same rate, as opposed to what Yamamoto and Snell did to him, and they got out early. They weren't spoiling pitches. They didn't strike out a ton, but they did strike out in big situations. You have to. That's the game. That's the game. Get him off the mound. Because they will also. The Dodgers have a shorter leash usually than others. So like, if things are not looking good, or he's out there laboring, they'll pull him, and that'll work in your favor. You just got to get him to pull him.
Unfortunately, his last start, he had a 59% zone percentage, which was the 4th best zone percentage of any start he's had in the last 2 years. So. He's not, in terms of being on a roll, maybe he's in the zone feeling good right now.
I was thinking, how could we approach Roki if we get to see him again? Hopefully this is the day we get to see Roki Sasaki again. And I'm only saying that not because I think hitting Roki Sasaki is easy, but that just means that we didn't get
out there.
8+ from Tyler Glasnow. Like, that's the scenario.
Well, this one again, I feel like lefties, there's an approach, and this is just his heat map. This is all his relief appearances, which is not that many. I mean, he just turned into a closer. But if you look at the top here, you got fastball versus lefties and splitters versus lefties. He's hard in and soft away, And so I would try to target that hard in. I know it's 100 miles an hour, but it's not a great shape. It's a little bit of a sinker-esque shape, so it's coming back in to the zone, and you just have to pull the trigger on those. Sometimes they look like balls, but if you prime yourself and you say hard in, I want to swing at it, I think you'll do better than swinging over the top of those splitters away. Against righties, it's a little bit harder because he's hard in and he throws the splitters in. So that one, good luck.
This is the general outlook. Good luck.
Yeah.
Well, and
I hope you're seeing it. Well, I say hope you're seeing it. I hope you can see the difference between his fastball and splitter, which, it's not that easy.
Yeah. The Brewers pitching plan for game 3 has Jose Quintana involved in it for some bulk. I would imagine, again, closer to like just one time through the order, probably behind an opener, probably behind a right-handed opener who throws hard, just to vary up the looks a little bit. But I don't feel good about this, guys. I really I don't like this position whatsoever. I'm not a fan of it. Don't recommend it.
Man, if we could just have Woodruff ever,
please,
that'd be just so nice.
Just a guy that you trust to go out there for 5, just to save having to mix and match and tinker and do all this stuff as often as they've had to do it. That would, since that 2018 postseason run, Woodruff has had probably the worst playoff health luck of anybody.
Who do you think is who is TBA?
Would they throw? They threw McGill as an opener.
It might be McGill.
5 against the Cubs. Maybe it's McGill again.
Yes, but then who comes after him?
Quintana.
Do you go McGill Quintana?
Quintana, yeah.
Or McGill, one other reliever, and then Quintana? Because you want Quintana to get the... I know it's lefty still, but do you really feel good about Quintana against Shohei? Is that really, I
don't really feel that good against anybody. I mean, Ashby against Quintana, I feel okay, just because Ashby's pretty nasty.
Ashby against Shohei, yeah, well, sure, like that, but...
Oh, yeah, Ashby against Shohei, yeah.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful to like a veteran that has put together a great big league career, but I'm like, okay, like, yeah, it's lefty still, but is that really making Shohei Ohtani uncomfortable in any sort of way?
Hey, well, Shohei sucked this postseason. So.
Yeah, does Shohei have a hit in the series? He's like 1 for his last 22. It's crazy that he is still like someone I don't even remember who it was like, hey, should we move Shohei out of the first for leadoff spot? I'm like, he is just the specter of him is creating problems. Like, like Freeman is doing everything now because everyone's so afraid of Shohei that like, and he's just not doing anything. But like, he
still has
like
15% walk rate. You know,
yeah, that's what we get.
Fearsome
like, leave him there.
Makes people do openers and change.
Don't signal to anyone that we're worried about it. Like, just don't signal to anyone we're worried about it to give him confidence against him, even if he's not right. Because they're still they're going to avoid him like the plague. No matter he could be 0 for 30, but this could be the game. This could be the game. He goes 4 for 4 with 3 homers. Like we've seen him do it. So they're just going to leave him there, even if he doesn't get a hit for the rest of the playoffs. He's going to hit leadoff the whole time.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to move him from that spot. That would be pretty surprising at this point. Let's get to some non-playoff news. We saw Alex Bregman report that he is going to opt out of the remaining 2 years of the 3-year deal he signed with the Red Sox. Not a total stunner. There were 2 years and $80 million left on that contract. That was half deferred, actually, for at least 10 years. So factoring in that and doing the math backwards, you were saying that's more like $15 million in present value. So if you're adjusting those numbers a little bit, he has to basically be 2 for 70 in present value with the next deal that he signs.
And I don't think he will in terms of average annual value, but I wonder if maybe the injury scared him a little bit this year, or I don't know what his thought process was. Maybe the first half convinced him that, teams can see that he can succeed now at a different park. Although I would say Fenway is very similar to Houston in terms of, being very friendly to right-handers. So I don't know what the motivation is, but maybe at 31, he feels this is my chance to get a Matt Chapman-esque contract, get something that, is north of 150. And so I'll take the 150 over the 70, even if it's stretched over many years, because who knows if would I get $80 million 2 years from now? As a 33, 34-year-old.
Yeah, that seems pretty unlikely. So I think you're seeing a person making a good calculated decision that they're going to get the bigger long-term payout going this route. There should still be plenty of teams interested. I think the per game production looked solid. I mean, we know Fenway's a great fit for a right-handed bat, guy that puts a ton of balls in play. So he's had that his entire career between Houston and Boston. But anybody that was interested a year ago that didn't solve third base for the long haul should still be interested, even with some of the defensive numbers falling off. He's still not a bad defender at third base, 25% better than league average with the stick. Health overall prior to this season was pretty good. So I think he'll find takers on the market that are willing to give him that longer sort of deal that lowers the AAV and basically makes him maybe the third or fourth best hitter on a contending team again.
There's not that much competition. I mean, in terms of infielders that aren't first basemen, he's up against Trevor Story and Gleyber Torres, Luis Arias, I guess, Eugenio Suarez. So like he's clearly, I would say clearly the top of the market, because, even Trevor Story has to opt out. He may not opt out. And then once you get to the Gleyber and Ha-Seong Kim and guys like that, like I feel like there's a clear separation there. So he's clearly the top of the market. But when it comes to like teams that have needs at third base, I think there's only really one team that sticks out, which is the Cubs. And there's an obvious idea of like, oh, well, they were in on Bregman before. They could sign Bregman and trade Shaw for pitching. That would maybe be a good idea for this Cubs team, because the pitching free agency market, there's three guys. It's Fromber, it's Shane Bieber, and it's Ranger Suarez. That's it. in terms of top end talent. So everybody's going to be, really hard at that trough. And so maybe the Cubs feel like, oh, we'll just sign Bregman and trade Shaw. But if I'm like, putting together a list of contenders for Bregman services, it's the Red Sox and Cubs. I don't know. Like, who else? Did the Phillies trade Bohm and sign him? Yeah. The Tigers were a finalist last time too, but it's not a great park for his services.
Yeah. I think it's still smart. I think the bat's still going to age pretty well. I know it's not elite bat speed, but the bat to ball skills are it's
really good.
It's more in the mold of a hitter that you think is still going to give you something even at the tail end of a longer deal than some of the guys that have a lot more swing and miss, but more present day power.
I guess the Mariners could get involved.
There you go.
Possibly. You can also, if you factor in or you have the plan to, down the road, move him to second. Like that's also just for arm reasons, and that's an option. And he's proven that he can do that, even if the range gets a little bit more limited. So like if you see that as a natural change you can make in the next 2 or 3 years on your team,
I guess the Blue Jays
more likely to sign him long term. Maybe the Blue Jays,
yeah.
Well, I think you also had Munetaka Murakami coming over too. That's your
pie in the sky. He's really strange though, because he had a 30% strikeout rate in Japan. Mm-hmm. I think that one will have a smaller number associated with than the numbers I've seen put out there. I don't know that. I think that'll be a team that's trying to catch lightning in a bottle and pay less and get lucky.
Yeah. Curious to see what the numbers look like on
Mariners. Like the Padres. The Mariners.
There you go.
But the Padres also have like very little money and kind of need more power. And they have an opening at first base. So the fact that Murakami's glove is a little bit suspect at third, they could just be like, hey, we're going to... I think the numbers might be surprisingly low for Murakami. And the Padres have no money. So I could see that working.
The Padres have no money. So I could see that working. I don't know, man. They look like they're about to have a really strange winter in San Diego.
I was just on Padres radio, and they have $20 million to spend, and they need a number one or number two. Like, I need a top line starter. They need a back end starter. They probably need a reliever, and they need more power. And they have $20 million.
Yeah, that'll work. I mean, the answer will be trades, so that'll be part of how they get out of it. But
yeah, but they've traded away so much that
I know.
I don't even know what's left anymore. I mean, Salas is like all that's left.
Yeah, eventually the well runs out. We got that follow-up we were expecting. Anthony Volpe had surgery to repair a torn labrum. So it happened, I think, right about the time that Brendan Cuddy's flight took off to go on vacation, which is, hey, we got 2 Yankees writers, so that was Chris Kirshner's responsibility to write that up. But at least we have a resolution. And all it does for me is it just confirms this idea that he wasn't playing hurt, he was playing injured. Like, if you needed surgery to repair a torn labrum, should you have been playing from early May onward with that, given the position you play and given what it did offensively? Like, I'll never feel good about that.
Some optimism that he can be a better shortstop than Jose Caballero.
Oh, jeez, he's got to be a better shortstop than Caballero with a healthy shoulder now. Come on.
Yeah, and that, I don't know that he's ever going to be, a 30-30, superstar shortstop, but can he be 20-20 with a 220 batting average and a passable, OBP and good defense and still be like a 3-win player? Yeah, I do think that is a possibility for him. And it's in the cheap range of his years. So, that's what the Yankees are probably going to go with at shortstop next year, as much as it pisses off people.
It's his glove shoulder, correct? Front shoulder swing.
Yeah, it's his left shoulder.
It's not a strong shoulder. I don't think people are understanding how much that has to do with the poor performance. Like, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he's just better. Like, your shoulder sore all the time for swinging, and then you're also thinking about it when you dive to your glove side, so that ruins your range or your commitment to making good plays, and then even like swinging that shoulder around to throw, it affects everything. So it's
that's what we were. You have to pull your front shoulder through.
You feel it
every
every baseball movement he makes. He feels it. That's
my
even
kid's
if it
dealing
feels
with some shoulder
normal
issues
after a
right
while.
now, and like we're basically shutting him down.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He probably doesn't remember what feeling like really good is, and it's just like hey, I have a responsibility. I'm Jeter's heir. Like just be Anthony Volpe. But I get it. Like I don't think anyone would be like, I'm not Jeter's heir. Like,
Maybe as an organization, it's your job to make sure he doesn't put that on himself, because you don't need that. Like, that's just unnecessary added pressure. Some other news.
Yeah, in other New York news, I like what the Mets are doing. I'd hoped that I'd said this out loud, but I thought it, and I wish I had said it out loud, because I would have called it in the way that I tried to call the Josh Kalk to the Orioles idea. But when we were talking about, veteran teams like the Mets needing to improve their defense, Kai Correa is the guy that comes to mind, because Kai Correa turned J.D. Davis, a first baseman, into a passable third baseman for a year. And when the Giants had that 107 win year, whatever that great year that they had, they basically got standout defensive performances from veterans across the board. And I believe that Kai Correa can actually coach up defense. He has a unique way. I mean, it sounds stupid to say, but he has a unique way of doing fungo. Like, he has very specific thoughts of how you should do fungo. He uses different techniques in terms of different pitching machines and different ideas to coach up the defense. And then he has a proprietary system of placing them. Like, he comes with his own sort of defensive placement system. And that's been behind some of the Guardians' success and some of the Giants' success when they were good. So what do you do if you have an old team and free agency is not going to solve your defensive issues? Maybe you go get the best defensive coach that's out there in Kai Correa. Jeff Albert joins the hitting. There might be two hitting coaches. I guess Eric Chavez was a little bit angry that there were multiple, or didn't like that there were multiple voices. But the modern hitting coach environment right now is that you have 2 or 3 hitting coaches so that you can reach anybody. If you have a little bit more analytics one for the guys who want to hear the analytics stuff, and then you have a little bit more old school one for the other guys, so you can reach all your guys, so you can communicate and get in touch with all your players. Albert is going to be the one who speaks to the nerds. He has a blog called hittingresearch.com where he posts the newest biomechanical research, newest hitting research. And he was part of, I think this is one of the best sort of resume items you can have, really, because it has nothing to do with any of the cheating scandal. He was the hitting director when the Astros pumped out Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, George Springer. I mean, that was a hit parade where they just pumped out not even above average, like star hitter after star hitter. Bregman, like all those guys came through when Jeff Albert was the hitting coordinator. His time in St. Louis was a little bit more uneven, but the St. Louis Cardinals had their best offensive year under his tutelage in the last 10 years. That was the only year that they led the league and pulled fly balls. And he likes pulled fly balls, but I don't think that's the only thing he's about. There's been some that said that he didn't connect well with the players. Maybe he learned something from that time. But if you're the hitting coordinator and you're pumping out all those Astros, I feel like you can communicate to people. I don't think that he's just this nerd that can't talk to people. So I think both of those hires were really smart ideas for the Mets, and did some of the best coaches that were available in positions of need for the Mets. I know that the Mets were the 5th best offense, but I think they can be better. And on defensive side, Kai Correa is the guy.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know.
I
know
agree.
Jeff Albert is among hitting nerds. Jeff Albert is he's on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, people really respect him.
The hitting nerd Mount Rushmore. I like it.
It's fun. It's funny because I think that I was also talking to Duke about this yesterday. Was just was there really was it Jeremy Barnes and Eric Chavez, like their talent wise No, I mean, it seems like if some guys have to go, I think both those guys are big league hitting people too. There was all that stuff about how like Chavez was asked to go back, and he's like, well, Jeremy just did last year. Like, this is weird. I'm kind of just like hanging out, trying not to step on toes or ruin anything, right? So I understand them moving away from that, but and like Hefner going too. It's like they're gonna go. Those guys are gonna go somewhere else too, and I think they are good at what they do as well. And someone else.
Yeah, I think I would sign Hefner. I mean, I think Hefner is a good pitching coach.
But if it comes down to if you're gonna make changes, these are good. Exactly. You got some really good other people to plot.
And Albert's been
process.
With the Mets, so any of the young hit players will know who he is. He's been the hitting coordinator there, so the director of hitting there. So the young players coming up will know who he is.
Yeah, just moving into that uniformed hitting coach role. The other manager news, we talked about Mike Schilt's abrupt decision to retire yesterday, but AJ Hinch got an extension from the Tigers. Probably not a big surprise there, given the success they've had each of these last 2 seasons. And Rob Thomson back in 2026 with the Phillies. We kind of speculated on this. Eno and I did, I think, maybe a week or so ago. We really couldn't think of a reason why the Phillies would move on from Rob Thomson. It seems like they have the right guy with the current core roster that they have in place. Do you agree with that take, Trevor?
Yeah, I think it would have to be I think if Topper went, they would have to. It would be an indication that core is no longer. They're like starting to break it. Like they have no intention to bring Schwarber back. Like I think Castellanos gone no matter what. But like in terms of they're like we're gonna try a new thing, adding pieces because they haven't really outside of like Stott and Bohm, who Bohm's still going to be thrown out there as a trade candidate probably all off season again, and like he's going to be in these conversations. Like they don't have they have pitching. But like the core of position players, like I think they want to continue. They're like, we still think we're in the window, even if we're maybe at the very end of it. We still have a year. I mean, if it depends if they make some savvy moves, trades or whatever, and like add maybe some younger players that then they glom onto that core and like, okay, then we have 2 more years of this core. We can get Schwarber year to year because he likes being there. They might be able to get him on one of those like player option a bunch of years because he's like, I like my situation and $30 million or $25 million is great for me. And he seems like a guy who'd just be like, I know it's team friendly guys, but like, I'm good with it. Like, I like this situation. If they can do that, then have Thomson there. Right. So that's what it tells me. It tells me like, this is still our core. I think we have an idea of 2 or 3 pieces.
We're not rebuilding it. We're not breaking it up.
We're not going to rebuild. We're not going there. Yeah. And Dombrowski's like, let me do my free agency thing. We might be able to or trade thing. We might be able to get a little bit more life out of this car. And because it's a special group, it is. And they are still a complete team. They're still pretty complete. There are a lot of good pieces in good places. And there's a couple little things, and now they have Durant, like go for it again. And that's what it tells me.
I came away from that DS loss with the Dodgers really kind of struck by something that was in the Matt Gelb column of just how tight the pitching was throughout. I think that was a reminder how close those games actually were. Like, yeah, you lost the series 3-1, but those games were close plays away from flipping across the board, right? Like, it's just the nature of like, hey, you went up against the similarly built team with similar strengths that came through just a little bit more. Right, that's what it is, and I think since they have so much of that core in place, it would be premature to tear it down. I know you can run the risk of setting your organization back years if you hold on to a core too long. I don't think that's what's happened in Philly because they do have that pitching. They should get Wheeler back on top of that at some point next year. Maybe it's not early, maybe it's not all the way back to being himself right away, but even without Wheeler, that team I think was still good enough to make a run and win the World Series, which says a lot about how good that core is.
And as much as Dombrowski has, traded away guys, he hasn't gone full Preller. In that Andrew Painter is, I think, ready to go. I know he's lost some luster, but like I think he can be can he be a 5 for them? Yeah, like and could he be a 5 with the up arrow next to him? Yeah. And he's ready to go. He's to plug in right now. He has innings and, you can put him in there. Aiden Miller, the Fangraphs, number on him is 2026, but he did hit AAA last year and he's really succeeded everywhere he's gone. So if you wanted to pull something where you trade Bohm, put, for something completely different and you put, Aiden Miller in your infield next year, it wouldn't be the craziest thing. And it might be a good idea. He held on to, my point is, he held on to the very top end of his farm, even while he dealt from the below that. There's some people who want Justin Crawford in that outfield right now. So, I think that there's still, some talent that's come up through that he could try to mix some youth in with the veterans he's got. And maybe it could be something that's not quite just let's get as old as possible, something that's like, let's mix some new guys in and try to thread this needle, as every GM loves to say.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Crawford played all of the 2025 season at AAA as a 21-year-old, ran a 4.11 OBP with an 18% K rate and a 40% hard hit rate. Steals bases. I mean, can do
he
a
hits
lot.
Too much on the ground, but hey, sometimes we focus too much on what people can't, their flaws, and not on hey, could he, play center field for us and have a plus OBP and maybe only hit 10 homers. Hey, that would be really valuable.
Let him develop into it, man. Maybe he can then, as these being around the Harpers and the Schwarbers, he learns how to lift the ball more. And then he can learn, and then as those guys kind of start to age and kind of be outside the core, then he develops the pop a little bit more because he has an especially if it's he's got the juice to do it, he hits the ball hard enough. It's just the angle at which he hits it. That is something you can learn to do. So, and sometimes guys just, I don't know, aren't all-stars immediately.
Yeah.
But I'd be really tempted if I was them to just be this is not a rebuild, but it's an opportunity. And we're going to go into spring training and we're going to tell Aiden and Crawford and we're going to tell Miller, Crawford, and Painter, you can earn your way onto this team. There's a spot waiting for you right there. Look at it. Center field. It's waiting for you.
Yeah. I think
shortstop.
That works,
I don't know
though.
if you tell him it's shortstop. Maybe it's third base. Maybe it's shortstop. We move trade, but there's a spot in the infield for you. There's a spot in the rotation for you. There's a spot in the outfield for you. Earn it. And maybe bring in, other guys, maybe bring Bader back on a 1-year deal or whatever it is, where they're not blocking them. They can go right into backup if those guys become starters.
Yeah, that seems like a smart recipe to keep the current core intact, but make sure you're putting the pieces in place for the next pieces of the core to actually be ready when you need to rely on them more. Small roles now, bigger roles later. We are going to go on our way out the door. Reminder, you can join our Discord with the link in the show description. Thanks to our producer, Brian Smith, for putting this episode together. That's going to do it for this episode of Rates and Barrels. We're back with you on Friday.
Thanks for listening.